Hi.
Hi. We're recording. So welcome.
Welcome to What the Fuck Stories and Advice. I'm Daryl Gove.
And I'm Caroline Cranshaw. And we are two hypnotherapists that talk about therapy as well as crazy fucking stories.
And we know everything about everything between us.
We think we do. Yeah. That's the main thing, is we actually think we know it all. We don't. But we have an inflated sense of self, slightly narcissistic on scale. Maybe not. Well, here's the thing. I don't ever think I'm better than anybody.
Not better as a human being. I don't, but some people's behaviors might be better for them than the behaviors I do, or vice versa.
That's the thing when you're a therapist, you start to see everyone's side, and it's really fucking annoying.
I like it, but it's, some people, they just want to bitch about someone, right? So they're like, oh, that girl, she's such a bitch. And what they don't know is I've had that girl in my clinic, and I know her deep drivers in life is just to help people and just to be loved and just to love. And she thinks the best way to do that is just to speak the truth, for example. And she knows she comes across curt, but she knows that that's how she should do it. That's her belief. And so all these people are going around thinking that she's a complete bitch.
Stop thumping the table down.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And she's actually lovely. She's absolutely lovely. So,
who are you talking about?
I mean, this story, nobody in particular, there's been like 20 times that's happened when people have a negative opinion about somebody, because often it's due to somebody being angry. And people are angry because they're sore. They're full up. They can't cope. They've got too much internal pressure, and so they're venting. And other people, when they receive that, they don't like it, but they don't see what's going on inside. And we get the privilege of that, which I think is really lovely.
Yeah. And I think some people are just assholes. They really are. And and some people will admit that openly. It's funny for me is I have a real theme of getting triggered by what I perceive as injustice. Mm-hmm. So if someone is picking on someone, if someone is treating someone unfairly, if someone is doing something that person is being hurt or traumatized by, I get really fucking mad. And I now, as an adult, have to take every ounce of my self-control to not sweep in and try to sort out that situation. Like, I was the kid at school who bullied the bullies. That was me. Like, so badly that they would change schools. That's a whole nother story. Which is not okay. Not okay that I did that, and I have apologized.
So do you get a lot of injustice in your clinic?
I do. I do. I get people who have injustice. I don't tend to get as triggered by that because I just coach them through, how do you cope with this, and how can you reframe this, and what can you do to get yourself out of this situation or stand up to that person? I was going to say, I've always been able to stand up to people. That is actually not true. Like, as a kid, I definitely would have friends that would kind of bully me or be rude. And my solution to that was always like, just be overly nice and maybe they'll stop being mean to me. And that didn't fucking work. But for other people, hey, no problem at all. Someone picking on you, let me know and I will go to sort them out. And it's interesting, over the past few months, there's been several situations that have kind of come up in, like, people who I know, one particular case where there's another employer who is kind of a competitor of mine, let's say, who is treating their employees very badly, very badly. And I just I'm so mad about it. What I've realized, and through talking to my therapist, because everybody should have therapy or everyone should have supervision, is that it's not my job to fix it. Right? Because
that's the thing. We'd love to fix all of the problems of our clients and our friends and our family, but it's not. It's people have their own path, and all we can do is teach them some tools, be there, listen, but we can't fix it for them.
But I am a recovering codependent, and a codependent person is someone who kind of enables people or will rescue people over and over. And it comes from my own childhood patterns. My mother was codependent. My mother had issues herself. And so I was always trying to save my mother. And so then I would do that in my relationships and when my friendships, and any opportunity I could. Oh, you're fucked up. Here, let me help you. Let me ignore all my problems. And I think that's what I realized through my own process of therapy, is that I was actually, it's a really good distraction.
Yeah.
It's a very good distraction to focus on other people's shit and not worry about your own. Like, I have lots of shit I need to be sorting out. I need to stay in my lane. And there's a difference, right? Yeah. I've struggled with this there's another therapist out there who is, in my opinion, being a bit abusive in the way they are delivering their advice. And I've wanted to call that person up and tell them that they're doing it wrong, blah, 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 blah. Not one of the people who've told me about this therapist talking to him that way have asked me to do that. Yeah. So I need to sit back and shut my fucking mouth. And really, it's them who need to say, how you're talking to me is not okay, and I don't appreciate it. It's not my job to step in and actually tell that therapist how to do their job, right?
Yeah, I mean, there comes a point where perhaps somebody needs to be reported if they're being really, really bad. But at the end of the day, we're about empowering people. And, if somebody is being mistreated by another therapist, the person itself is the person that's got the solution. They're the person that can go and make the complaint or say something. And if they can't talk to the therapist, then they can talk to somebody above that.
That's the thing, is because this person, their therapy is not regulated. They are not the same type of therapist as I am. They do not belong to any professional association that I know about. If they did belong to the same professional association, I would have an ethical obligation to report, right? But it's a gray area. But really, I need to sit back. But it reminds me of a story when I was a child, when it is important to actually step in and say something and report it. It's not the nicest story, but for whatever reason, I haven't told it, and it was on my list of something I haven't told.
Okay, come on.
Want to hear a story from my childhood?
I mean, it's always, you wonder what you're going to hear. Go for it.
Well, put your seatbelts on, bitch, because we're going for a little bit of a ride. Strap in. So when I was probably, I would guess about 12, and I was in middle school, I guess what you would call it, or junior high, I would babysit some of the kids, which is just when I think about it now. So I was probably 12 or 13, but I was babysitting at that age. And there was, younger kids in the neighborhood that you kind of play with. And I noticed that there was another boy who was my age, who was in my class at school, who was kind of being a little bit familiar with some of these younger children. And I just, something, the little hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you're like, something's not right. And he was just being a bit creepy. And the kids would kind of stiffen up when he would come around. And there was one particular boy that he was very friendly with. And I could just tell by that kid's body language that he was basically freaking out every time this other child came around. And so I went up to that boy and I said, what's going on there? You seem uncomfortable. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I said, you seem funny around him. What's happening? And he's like, nothing.
And it's just
nothing
like
is happening.
Just like
nothing's happening. Just like me. What, to go and
just like A, to have like the radar to sense something wrong, and B, to like just confront it straight on. What's going on here?
Well, yeah, exactly. As soon as that kid walked away, I was like, what's going on? And the kid's reaction was massive. Oh, yeah. Massive. And was like, nothing's happening. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. And I'm like, say what? I was just asking you why you seem uncomfortable. And he was like, please don't say anything. And I said, why are you afraid? Oh. What's happening? And he said, he has needles with AIDS in it.
What?
And I was like, what? And there was a hospital not that far away from where we lived, maybe a mile or two away. And he said, well, he went and he got needles with AIDS in it, and he's going to give me AIDS if I say anything. And I was like, what? And I was like, say what? I said, first of all, that's not true. You can't just go randomly find needles with AIDS in it. And
in Scotland, you can.
Well, this was in a, let's say, affluent area of Northern California where I'm sure you could find that, but I don't think, what are you going to go get? Apparently he claimed that he had gone into the dumpster and found these needles with HIV or AIDS in it. And I don't think that's how they're disposing of needles that could be contaminated, right? I had a lot of family friends with HIV. I was very familiar with that issue and what it involved. And I just knew that was a load of shit. So I said, well, yeah, I promise I won't say anything. And I know that they burn the needles at the hospital. Like my mom's friend works at the hospital and they burn all the needles. So that's not true. And I said, I promise I won't say anything. And so he tells me that this boy had been molesting him. I know I told you this is a really nice story. And I believe he might have been molesting another child as well, who was also involved in it. And I was like, right, I'm going to sort that out. Don't you worry. And so my best friend's dad was a homicide detective. And I believe, so I just went and told him. And he knew who the kid was. Like, we all lived within like blocks of each other. So he knew exactly who this little boy was. And he was like, leave it with me. Anyways, but apparently that little boy ran off and told the boy that I had gotten it out of him straight away. I then get a call, I think the next day, from another boy in my class who said, I really need to warn you that this boy has heard that you have said that you got out of this other child, that he's been fiddling him, which he's claiming is not true. But he has got rope and a knife, and he's planning on coming and raping and killing you.
What the fuck? It gets worse.
Yeah. He said, I'm not sure if he wants to kill you or not, but yeah, that's his plan, apparently. And he knows that because my mother was always out. I was home alone a lot as a kid. And he said, he's watching your house, and he lives right by us too. And I was like, okay, thank you for telling me that. So I called my friend's dad and I said, apparently he's planning on tying me up and raping me and trying to kill me for saying something. And he said, okay, just leave that with me. Yeah, I remember police coming to the school the next day and interviewing me. And I just told them what had happened. And that boy did not ever come back to school. And apparently he was only like 13 years old, this boy that was the offender. And he was sent to Washington State, was what I heard in the grapevine, for like some youth sex offenders facility. And that he had been horrifically abusing that other boy quite badly. And I think at least one other child, possibly two. And yeah, they just thanked me for sticking my nose in it and getting to the bottom of it. So then I thought I was going to be a detective when I grew up. But yeah, so there is a difference, right? There's a difference when you need to report. You need to put your nose into it if you think somebody's getting hurt or harmed or whatever. But yeah, for me, it's a hard one because I just want to get involved in everybody's business. That's why I'm a therapist.
Well, I think when it comes to the safety, especially of children, you just have to, like, and I mean, not just morally, but legally, you have to.
Really?
You have to. But just good on you for kind of following your gut there, and just for, taking action where you saw something wasn't right. That's a skill, but also, a strong personality trait. So
I find it interesting because I've always had a good intuition. All the women in my family do. And I've always gotten funny feelings about certain people. With certain people, you might get some of those images and then they're around. And I used to get that with this guy who worked at a school that I went to. And I would get these funny images of him with younger boys. And then he was helping out with boys. And it turns out he was molesting the boys. But I would get that with him as well. And I get that with certain people.
So hold on. It sounds like you're just telling me you've got like this magic superpower. Now, I always knew that because in a previous episode we talked about if you could have a superpower, you'd be like to hunt and kill pedos, right? But,
no, that's not the superpower I want. That's what I would just do for sport.
Oh, that's what you do for fun. But you have a superpower. You're like Phoebe off of Charmed. The one that gets the images in her head. Oh, you have to watch it. It's. I
do get images. I always have. But yeah, it's a weird thing. I get these like certain people, and it happens not that often, but it does happen. Or I'll get these images of them hurting people, or just images of people being hurt. It's actually horrible, and I hate it. And I don't get it that often anymore because it's just like I almost like try not to. And I've always gone, maybe I'm a bit crazy. I remember telling some therapist that I would do that or had that. And she was basically told me I needed a lot more therapy and that I was actually quite fucked up.
No,
So I don't think I've really told anyone else about that since.
No, from my point of view is this. It's checked out before, right? So it doesn't mean it's...
yeah, many, many times.
So somebody is giving you these images, or you're accessing the collective consciousness or whatever it is. I don't know if we talked about this in a previous episode, but I remember being taught by my therapist that you could smell somebody who was like sexually deviant, like rapist or pedo and that kind of thing. And she tuned me into it when we were clearing them, having been raped and whatever in my past. I was doing the emotional work on that. And she got me to, in a kind of regression, understand that there was a smell that actually gave it away and to watch out for that smell. And whether it's a pheromone or a hormone or something, I don't know why, but I could sense with my nose. And so that's how I knew, like when, for example, my ex was cheating, that same smell, they came home from a work trip and I smelled that smell and I'm like, oh, you've cheated. That is the smell of bad sex stuff. So if there is a thing, if there is a hormone or a pheromone that's released when somebody is, let's say, doing a sexual behavior that they want to keep hidden, perhaps that triggers images in your mind. If that's a thing.
Possibly. Well, I think, the subconscious mind processes what they say 40 billion. Is it 40? 40 billion bits of information. Is it a second or a minute? I can't remember.
It's a fuck ton.
A minute.
There's just so much.
It's a big fucking number. Okay. And we are processing an extraordinarily large amount of information, 99% of it being dismissed, right? We actually are picking up on a lot more, like way more than we even ever could imagine. And I think we do. We have these senses or these, I don't know what you want to call them, instincts or intuitions or whatever they are that are trying to protect us or warn us. I think people have different kind of talents and, it's like musical talent. I can spot pedophiles and rapists. And I haven't always been able. I'm going to get by because I've been abused by people who I didn't spot. But yeah, it's just interesting. I think, but it's interesting that woman said that you can smell them. And then after that, you've been able to, right?
Yeah, and she alerted me to the fact that I could smell it before, but I didn't know what the smell meant. And so now that I know what that smell means, I could spot it. And it was clear as day. It was just like, that is the smell. That's the smell. And it smells like
teen spirit.
No, it smells, if I had to describe it, it's like someone that's trying really hard to wash themselves, but they can't get rid of their odor. And they cover it with a cheap scent. That's the closest I can come to describing it. Like somebody who really, really is trying so hard to smell good, like to really scrub themselves, but all you can smell is an underlying
cheap floozy's perfume.
Yeah, like something in the sweat. Because we think when we sweat, for example, we have like cortisol and all these different stress hormones that come out. So it makes sense that if somebody's worried about being caught for something or worried about being exposed, that there are stress hormones that could go into the sweat that could affect its smell. So if anyone knows about it, then let us know.
I love pheromones. I actually have bought several different pheromones. And if I suddenly had a shit ton of money, right, that I could just invest in lots of things. There's plenty of things I would invest in. But one thing I would definitely want to invest in is a pheromone company, because I have ones that they definitely can affect you. Ones that cause focus, ones that can cause you to feel like giddy and silly, ones that can give you this like sexual energy aura. It's funny, I did a radio show on it and I brought these pheromones in and I sprayed them. And I swear to God, these people lost their mind. They lost their mind. One of them was like trying to hump everything. The other one was going, what the hell's going on? And it was just insane. Yeah. The producer was like, what the fuck have you done? I'm like, shit, I didn't think it actually worked this well. But it does, like, even without, and maybe that's just a suggestion, right? Maybe they were just impressionable and it didn't really work. But yeah, there's no doubt about it with studies that pheromones have an effect. So I think that, and it's connected with memory and all of that, like those sensors in your brain. But maybe we can, I mean, they say also, like, you pick people based on smell of who you're attracted to, right? And the more genetically diverse they are from you, the more attractive you tend to find them, because genetically, that's what you want to mate with, right? That's what, the more genetically diverse both of your DNA is, if you have a child together, that child is going to have stronger, healthier genes. Keep you from fucking your dad, right? And having a baby. But that normally isn't by choice. But it's one of those things. I know, sorry. I digress it into the gutter, but I'll pull it out. The interesting thing is that when you, as a woman, and when you're on the pill, that changes. Who you find attractive, what smells good to you, is actually people that are more genetically similar. And they think and the same thing when you're pregnant, right? Because the pill makes your body think you're pregnant. And so you actually will pick a different partner when you're on the pill as opposed to when you're off.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the whole hormones and pheromones and yeah.
So we're smelling whose DNA would be a better match for us.
I got to tell you that I don't know if everybody would agree, but my partner Juan, his smell is just divine. He has and it must have been pheromones because we kissed before we talked. I think I've told you that before. And so, and I was sober as well and just kissed him. And
wow.
Yeah. And he has a smell, like, it's really good. Like, even if he like goes and does like a 2-hour cycle, he doesn't smell bad, but then he like lives off a fruit. To me. But what would he smell like to somebody else? Maybe it's his pheromones that I quite like. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the same with my partner. He always smells good to me, even if he's been working out or anything. Whereas other people, they can be like fresh out of the shower or someone and they're like, they smell a bit funny. I've noticed my kids, like when they were younger, they would smell a bit funny to me sometimes, and they could be just bathed or something. But I almost wonder if it was that same thing. It was like, this is very genetic,
Yeah.
Some weird thing telling you not to be attracted to him, which is, very good. You should not be attracted to your children in that way. But yeah, it's just, we are animals, right, at our core. And there's just so much more going on. Because aren't they're finding dogs that can smell cancer now, right?
I believe so. It's but I just wanted to say as well, it's quite reassuring, because everyone in society has this idea of this is what beauty is, or this is what handsome is, this is how you should look, and this is what you should do. But at the end of the day, just your natural smell, just the one that you have, your natural pheromones that you release, is going to make you fuckable. It's going to make a whole bunch of people just want to have sex with you. And it doesn't matter how you feel about your looks, if you love them or if you hate them, some people are just going to look at you and they're just going to want to have sex with you. So if you're not finding that person, you're not going to find that on Tinder. I'm all for online dating. All my siblings met their husbands on online dating. But if you...
my partner on online dating.
Exactly.
Remember, we're in the middle of a pandemic where you shouldn't be getting too close at the moment.
It depends where you are, I guess. I mean, some places are a bit more relaxed, but either way, you can still smell people from a distance. Like, get out when it's safe to, and if you're allowed to, get out there and mingle.
I have an idea. This is what you should do. Okay, if you're getting to know, because I know for me, I would meet.
Send them panties, Caroline. Don't tell them to do that.
Well, no, not your panties. Yeah, don't ruin my story, Dare. Yeah, because I know for me, I would connect with people online or however I would meet them, not when it wasn't in person. And we would talk and we'd have this amazing connection. And then I'd meet him in person and I'd be like, oh, you are never going to touch my pussy. Like, ever. Never. It's not going to happen. And it was just I don't know if it was a smell or whatever, but it was, and I'd seen pictures of these people, but it was just once you got in person, there was no chemistry. But yeah, so if you're in a pandemic, which we all are, but if you're getting to know someone, I think it's always important to move to phone calls rather than text, because I think, you can have amazing connection over text, and then you talk on the phone and you're like, boring. But what you should do is get the guy to wear a t-shirt to sleep, or you could do it with a woman as well. Get them to wear a piece of clothing that's like, doesn't smell or anything, and then they have to send that to you, because this is how they've done that test of which smell smelled good to people and which smell did not smell good. And that was like this genetic thing and like explaining kind of a part of attraction. So yeah, just get them to send you a t-shirt or something and you smell it. And if you like the smell, then it's all good. If it smells like rank to you or something doesn't smell right, then don't meet them.
I mean,
there's my solution.
I think if somebody said, wear a t-shirt for a night and send it to me, I'm probably not going to meet them anyway.
You would be surprised what men will do. As well, it's just like how I used to psychologically test every man before I would date them as well. They all said yes, all knowing I'm a therapist. I came up with some bullshit excuse that I was writing an article, but they still did it. They did like extensive testing. So I think if I asked a man to send me his t-shirt so I could smell it, or I just want to have something of yours so I can wear it at night and think of you, tell him some bullshit like that, I bet I would put money on the fact that 9 out of 10 guys would do that.
Ooh. And does anybody want to send us some t-shirts, but ones that are clean? That's what we should do. Send us some t-shirts to New Zealand and we will do a test and we'll tell you hot or not based on your smell. There we go.
But no, well, you can't do that because it's subjective and it all depends on your own DNA, your own genetics, right? So what I could find incredibly attractive, you might find repulsive and vice versa. So it really is individual. But I think like when they do Married at First Sight or any of that type of stuff, that's what they should be doing, is really basing some of their testing on making sure that they had that attraction first. Don't you think they'd have much better odds?
Yes, yeah, because they do a really shit job of it, to be fair. Well, I don't think they're really trying to get people that fit together. I think they're trying to get good TV.
I agree, right? Because, I think they are purposely doing bad matches. I really do believe that. So that there's drama, right? Because if everyone just gets along and everyone's in love,
it's not going to be fun.
It's not going to be a dumpster fire like it normally is. And they won't give advice, too. That's what always pisses me off about those shows. It's like, give them some good advice. They don't. Well, I mean, they might a little bit, but yeah.
It's the advice from my point of view is pretty poor. It's pretty poor, the stuff over in Australia. And I haven't watched the New Zealand one, but the Australian one. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So what else is going on?
That's enough advice.
I think that's enough. I joined a yoga class.
A yoga class?
Yeah. So I joined, I moved to Whenuapai, this part of New Zealand, on the outskirts of Auckland. And so I had a new gym and I thought, okay, I've never gone to a yoga class before. I used to do yoga on the beach and I loved that in a big group. I thought, I'm going to go to the class. So I rock up.
Nude yoga?
Sorry, there.
Nude yoga?
Oh, no, of course not. No. No, it was a regular yoga class. And I'd noticed some of the other classes, like if they did, the weights class or the step class, all the stuff was there. So I figured, okay, the mats are going to be there. Just go along. And bearing in mind we're in level 1 in New Zealand, which means that there's nothing in the community, like there's no risk. And so it's safe to, you still wipe down your equipment in the gym. You still, take precautions, but I just assumed there's a mat. So I rock up like 3 or 4 minutes late, as is my want. And I go into the room, everyone's sitting down quiet, and there's an empty yoga mat in the far corner. So I just point to it like, can I go there? And the instructor's like, yeah. So I go and I sit down and we go to start. And then this other lady comes back from the bathroom. I'm in her fucking yoga mat.
Like, you're on my fucking mat.
And I'm like, oh, in front of like the whole class on my first day. And the yoga instructor's like, I'll go and get one for you from my car. And then she just walked super slow. So it took her like 5 whole minutes to go and get it from her car in the car park.
Oh,
and I was just like,
just making a point. This fucking asshole didn't bring a mat and expects me to go out to my goddamn fucking car to get His Highness a goddamn yoga mat. The shit, I don't get paid enough for this. So, we should do lip syncing over shit. I think that would be another thing we could do. The bad lip syncing.
I love doing that. We used to do that growing up. We used to copy because it was on Whose Line Is It Anyway? And so we used to do it at home, pause the adverts and lip sync over them. So anyway, I get this mat, and you're in a new class and you're not used to doing classes in the gym. I'm not used to doing classes in the gym. And so for me, I want to be at the back hiding. but the only space is right at the front. And of course, because I have not been to a yoga class before, I was not versed with the attire that is appropriate.
So fuck.
I was wearing
what were you wearing?
Short because
oh no.
Because short shorts you can move, right? Yoga. I want to be able to be bendy. And they had like...
Did it have like built-in panties to keep your junk?
Built-in junk pants, yeah. Like that can hold...
But are they like the mesh ones that...
No, they're not see-through.
You can like see everything through?
They're like quite... They're
okay.
Quite,
so you didn't have like pubic hair poking through it or anything?
No. I'm not. I wouldn't be messy. And so they... However, it didn't feel good being right in front of some lady's face and having her face right at the outside of my shorts. I was just like, this is a horrible, horrible experience, and I just can't wait to tell Caroline. And so,
that's awful.
I was just going to say, so I went back the next week because that's how you get over something like that. You just, if I didn't go back the next week, I would never go back. So I bought myself some long pants, got a mat, and it's all good.
Good. Yeah, I went to hot yoga once.
Is that naked?
And no, it wasn't naked. It was very hot. I had been doing yoga for ages. I've always done yoga at home. I've never really done any yoga. I think I've done a few yoga classes after this. But yeah, this is in San Francisco. I wanted to vomit about 10 minutes in. I was next to a guy who I don't think has ever used deodorant or really believes in showers.
And you didn't like his pheromones?
Ripped off a fart in the class. His pheromones stunk. It's the whole patchouli BO combination for me. It just gives me bad Grateful Dead flashbacks of being on acid as a teenager. It was not good. And so I had to run. Yeah. And someone literally farted in the class, and you hear the like it was unfucking, and then people are laughing, and then I started fucking laughing, and then I was gagging and laughing, and then I ran from the room, and I did not come back. So I have done yoga since. And then, did not go back to hot yoga and found it disgusting. And then I did a yoga class here. This would be like, I don't know, over 10 years ago when I was doing it. Yeah. And the woman, the yoga instructor, and I'm with it's actually like a group of friends we all decided we were going to go and blah, blah, blah. But there was also some women that were like, who I knew who were kind of uptight, and I didn't really know them that well. And we were doing that pose where you do your feet together. What do they call it? Like the butterfly or something, you know? Yeah. So you're kind of like, you're sitting and you put your feet kind of together and you put your knees down. You know what I'm talking about? And I am in that way, I'm not a very flexible person, but in that way I can literally put my feet together and my knees will go completely down on the ground. And the woman was like, wow, you have very flexible hips, Caroline. That's like, even I know yoga instructors who can't open their hips like that. And I, of course, go, well, I have a lot of experience spreading my legs. And oh my God, that was the wrong fucking thing to say. So some started laughing, and one was like, oh my, did she just say that? Oh my God. And they were like, one was like highly offended. And it was just a fucking nightmare. So I didn't go back after that. So I've done 2 yoga classes. And I practice at home now. I mean, it's a joke. Like, I obviously am not spreading my legs everywhere, but you know, it's like
Caroline.
Maybe I have flexible hips, apparently.
You know, it's good. People have no humor sometimes. Caroline, bury me in a Y-shaped coffin, Cranshaw.
Oh no, as if your legs don't show. You can shut a corpse's legs, surely. Anyways, I don't want to be buried in a coffin. I want to be burned. I don't like the thought of being put in a coffin and in the ground and embalmed and people playing with your dead body. It's just fucking horrific to me.
You know, I always wanted cremation, but now I would only ever be buried because
really,
yeah, and
God, why?
It's for the family, because having all of my relatives be cremated, there's nowhere to go. There's two of my relatives, my grandparents, are buried in Scotland. So when I go back there, it's like I have somewhere to go, to mourn, to say hi, even though they're not there. Okay, I know it's just where their bodies are rotting, but it's really nice to have somewhere to go, to spend that mental time or that emotional time thinking about them, to be able to go and put flowers somewhere. And when people are cremated, there's just like this jar
You can
somewhere.
still do that.
You can still do that. You can still do
You
that.
still can do that, though. You can do, like I know people who are, they've been cremated, but the urn is in like a plot or whatever. I don't know. I still, that's what my mother always says is, where will I go if you die? I'm like, I'm not going to fucking die before you. Thanks a lot. I mean, I don't think it really matters. Yeah. I'm like, you're assuming that I will die first. I don't, what I like about cremation, is, I don't know. It's kind of like that whole cycle of, I don't know. If you're going to bury me in the ground and then just like literally just chuck my body with nothing done to it into the ground, maybe a sheet around me and then plant a tree on top of it. That's like the only way I'd be down with that. But even then I'm like, ooh, the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, the worms play pinochle on your snout. You know that? Somewhat, you know what? I had a good friend of mine died in a very tragic way. And someone for weeks crank called me and sung that fucking song.
What song?
Worms crawl in, the worms crawl out.
What?
They sung the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, the worms play pinochle on your snout. It's like a song about being dead. But yeah, someone crank called me for weeks and left that on my answering machine because that's how fucking old I am. And it was really horrible. Like, who the fuck would do that? But anyways, that's a story for another time.
That's shit.
But what I like with cremation is like you can, I don't know, everyone can have a little jar of your ashes. I had a friend who, her wife died and she used to carry a little bag of her ashes, and she actually started doing stand-up comedy, and she would like do this bit where she'd bring a bag of the ashes and she would say, who wants to have a threesome? I bring my wife with me, and she would like hand the bag of ashes to like a small one, not the whole thing, but to someone in the audience, and she'd make them hold her. But then she would talk about how it's really annoying to have a threesome with her dead wife because it's like sand, it gets everywhere. And
I like this humor. I want to go see her.
It was funny. You can see, oh, she's fantastic. You actually know her, but I won't say her name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I can say, actually, yeah, she's a stand-up comedian. Yeah, she's so fucking fun, like literally hilarious. But that's my humor, right? If it's inappropriate, I don't know. Life is, like we said, it's really serious and horrible in a lot of ways. And it's nice to laugh.
It's nice to laugh because you're a long time dead. Yeah, so.
So on that happy note. Do we have any recommendations? We talked about shows last time.
So I've got a movie recommendation, and it's on Netflix in New Zealand, so I'm not sure about it elsewhere, but it's called Pride, and it's a true story about a Welsh community, a mining community that really was in a lot of poverty and was really affected by pit closures. And this gay community in London decided randomly that they were going to raise funds and support a mining community, but they couldn't find anyone that wanted their support. So they eventually got this community in Wales to say, okay, we'll accept your money, we'll accept your support. And these whole bunch of gays got to, I think it was in the 80s, it was when AIDS, kind of was first around. They got invited and they went to this little old mining town with old fashioned ideals and lots of homophobic people, and basically it's all the awkwardness of those two communities meeting and falling in love with each other and helping each other. And I won't tell you the whole story, but what I'll say is at the end of the movie, it gives you, in the credits, it gives you the history, and it shows you that gay rights and politics in the UK, United Kingdom, completely changed because of that relationship between the mining community. So, for example, Labour put gay rights into their manifesto because of the mining community's relationships with this gay community. So it's just a fun movie. The way it's a true story about the characters are lovable, it's emotional, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of cool characters. So I highly recommend it. I've watched it a couple of times, and I reckon you'd like it. Awesome. Oh, I'll definitely watch that. That sounds really good. Cool. And I just love English shows as well, because it's just whenever you watch anything that's like filmed in the UK, it's just real, right? It's like, look, that person doesn't have capped teeth and a ton of plastic surgery, and they don't look perfect. They look like a normal fucking person, which I quite like because that's reality.
I relate to that a lot more than like Plastic Fantastic, you know?
Yeah,
Just my opinion.
I think there's a lot more, in the UK, a lot more television is made for channels that don't have adverts. Or historically it has been. I think now we've got Netflix, which is, and all these different creators of TV and media. But in the UK, for years and years, we had the BBC. So they made stuff to be good, to be realistic, not to get advertisers. That was never the motive. It was just to give something educational or entertaining or dramatic. And I have always enjoyed the caliber of British TV. But we'll see what happens as things change.
Yeah. It just still, I think, and maybe the States is getting a bit more of that. I don't know, possibly. But I think that's what people are, that's why, isn't amateur porn always much more popular in a lot of ways, right? Because people want to see more reality. They want to see real people, not fake.
I'm not really the expert on amateur porn. I don't know or if it's it. But one thing I did hear last week, though, I was scrolling through TikTok, and TikTok shows you who it thinks you should see. And so because I'm gay, it somehow knows that, and it will send me lots of like gay people on my TikTok.
How does it know?
I don't know. Yeah, because of what you like and what you watch, and it knows that I'm a therapist. It knows when I went shopping for something because it started putting it on my thread. But however, one guy, he's an ex-male prostitute, and he is trying to draw awareness to a lot of sex trafficking. And he says that when you're watching amateur porn, that you've no way to know, especially with the amateur stuff, if that person wants to be doing it or if they're being trafficked. So he was advising to either find out or stay away from some of the more amateur stuff, because it could possibly be feeding it. I don't know anything on the subject. If you do, write in and tell us, and we can tell a story about it, because we need more stories to share.
I personally don't watch. Yeah, I don't personally watch amateur porn.
Only big budget bukkake for you.
But we need to do another show about bukkake. I use that as a aversion with my clients in hypnotherapy sometimes. Oh yeah, I got to pick the audience. But if someone is like obsessed with chocolate or obsessed with a certain food, I'll say, okay, this really scientific technique. I don't use it with everybody. But how would you feel if a whole huge group of men came and did a big bukkake? They ejaculated all over that food. Would you want to eat it? And they're like, no. So I might weave that in if it's appropriate, and if they think that's funny. And they don't fucking eat that food anymore, I tell you. They do not want it. It really works. But that's not for everybody, obviously. But yeah, if you want to be put off something, I find that technique is normally incredibly effective.
Imagine.
This is the type of stuff we teach in our hypnotherapy.
We teach people how to use
the bukkake.
It's the bukkake?
It's the bukkake technique. Next up, we're gonna have the bukkake. The bukkake technique is going to be after the break, and this is not one for the children. So on that note, I think we'll leave you.
So yeah, let's say goodbye. Send us an email, WTF Stories and Advice @gmail.com, and give us your stories and ask for advice.
If you're highly offended, yeah.
And check out our 5-day challenge to change your life in 5 days. It's free. We'll put something in the links. And
I promise I won't talk about bukkake.
Too much.
Okay. Right.
See you. Bye.
Bukkake. Bye.
Over now, bukkake.